Yeah.
What's cracking, everybody? Hello and welcome back to Gaming 101 with Mr. Berger. Tonight we're joined by my guest, my pet snake, Fangz. She's going to join us for this video, assuming she doesn't try to run away from me or slither away from me. Alright, so today we're going to take a look at this all-legendary deck that I used to go 6-0 with in the Modern Royale Challenge. So it's the second phase of the event that's going on right now. Tier 1 is the Retro Royale. I use a spawner deck. It's a lot of fun. I'll try to upload a video on that another night. But tonight I'm going to go ahead and showcase this Modern Royale deck that I used. So it's all legendaries. I got it from Clash with Ashy, uploaded it on Facebook, did a video about it, and I thought, hey, why not give it a swing? And I actually went 6-0. Now I'll be completely honest. I had to exit one game because something came up while I was in the middle of the game, and I just had to put my phone down, priorities. So I did lose one match. I just didn't count that because I didn't stand a fighting chance, considered that I left before any towers dropped. Anyway, so if you want to call it a 6-1 run, that's fine. But either way, it allowed me to complete the challenge, and I think that you could probably have a lot of success with it as well. What do you think, Fangz? Yeah, I think she thinks so too. I think she thinks she wants a mouse. Anyway, let's take a look at the cards in this deck. I'm not even going to worry about card replacements tonight because, it's a challenge where all the cards are available to you. So you don't even have to worry about card replacements because you can choose just about anything that's available in the pick. In this case, it's all the cards that were released after a certain date. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but it says it in the challenge description. So, we got the Log as our one spell. You want to have that one spell for sure. I mean, you don't want to go without any spells, I wouldn't think. But considering it's all legendary deck, we just threw that in there. Miner is great. He can play defense and offense. Princess, you got two long-range units. You got the Princess and the Magic Archer, so that combos really well. They're both very susceptible to spells. Princess in its own way being very susceptible to log and arrows. And the Magic Archer dies pretty easily. He dies to Fireball and so on and so forth. So in this first match here, I was going up against an E-Barb deck, and E-Barbs are only really good if they're over-leveled, so they're not that great in challenges like this. But why not try them out, right? Unfortunately, it didn't work for him. I 3-counted that first guy, so let's hop into the next replay here and talk about a few more cards, and then just maybe talk about each replay and kind of run through them. So Ewiz, man, Ewiz is great. I love him on defense and offense. He's great for defense, turns into this huge counter push. He also interrupts stuff, so he gets rid of those pesky Inferno Dragons and things like that. Royal Ghost, even though he got nerfed, he's still really strong, so I definitely like him in there. He can kind of sneak up. He's got good AoE damage. You can use him as like a kind of emergency tank, similar to how the Miner is used. So what else do we have? Night Witch. Night Witch is still strong despite the nerf. Magic Archer is awesome. I like him. He's fun to play with because he's new. He's not super OP, kind of like how the Night Witch was when she was first released. Man, she was ridiculous. But Magic Archer is pretty cool. I like him. So anyway, at this point, I'm kind of playing defense, and that's what you want to do in single elixir time with this deck, is you kind of want to play defense, use your long-range units and all your counter troops like a Lumberjack. I mean, Lumberjack, I don't even need to explain him. He's just great. I love the Lumberjack. Since that HP buff, he's just been so strong. And he drops a rage effect, which can be very beneficial. She's staring at me like I'm crazy. Maybe she doesn't agree that the rage is beneficial. I think the rage is an awesome extra thing that the Lumberjack does, and it buffs all your troops that run into it. But not only that, like, keep in mind he's not only about his rage. He's super strong with just his DPS. He wails on stuff and just tears it up, does a ton of damage. So you play defense at the beginning of the match until you get to double elixir time, which you often will, and then at that point you can kind of play a little bit more aggressive. You do have some aggressive cards here. The Royal Ghost and the Miner give you pretty powerful counter push potential, especially comboed with like the Lumberjack and the Night Witch and the Ewiz. I mean, I'm looking at all these cards, and it's all these counter push cards comboed with the Princess and the Magic Archer in the back to support them, and then your one spell. So it's a pretty solid deck. As you can see here, that rage drops down, and that allows all my units to just tear away at his King Tower. I got the Princess sneaking away a bunch of shots at the right tower as well there. Now I got the Royal Ghost going in. He's pretty awesome. He sneaks up, and he can't be attacked until he's seen, until he attacks himself. So you can actually smack Fire Spirits and Ice Spirits and kill them before they jump on him. He's like the only unit in the game that can do something like that. Alright. How we doing here? She's not doing so hot. She's like, why did you take me out? I was going to bed. Okay, so I'm going up against the Lava Hound deck, and the Lava Hound did scare me a little bit. I believe he has a balloon in there. Maybe not. We'll double check that in a second here once I see his hand. But the Lava Hounds, you gotta like really time and place your counters against it, especially with the Magic Archer. He's got a very thin fire, what would we call it, like line of fire. His AoE is very thin, so he shoots very far and pierces through everything, but his arrows like width is very small, so he doesn't hit a lot of units with one arrow unless they're like behind each other. Alright, let's do this Mega Knight deck, this first Mega Knight run, and then we'll jump into the next Mega Knight one, see how I do. Alright, so at this point, let's see what I do for opening moves. I like to cycle the Princess in the back, because she's just got so much range and potential to stay alive for a long time and have a lot of value and do a bunch of damage. Alright, so Princess is a great counter to the Furnace there, because since her range is so far, she can just shoot away at those fire spirits before they even get close enough to her or to your Princess Tower to do any damage. Fire spirits that are the same level as your Princess Tower, if there's two of them coming down, which is what's spawned by the Furnace, and they're unanswered to, the first one will die, but the second one will always hit. If your Princess Tower is one level higher, then the Princess Tower will one-shot them, and you won't have to worry about them chipping away at your Princess Tower. So if you use the actual Princess unit behind the Princess Tower, geez, how many times am I gonna say Princess in a row here? Anyway, she'll chip away at those fire spirits, destroy them, and it kind of shuts down the Furnace until they counter her. Forces them to kind of spend some elixir to react to her. And that's why she's so great. She just stays in the back and chips away at stuff and stays alive forever, giving her the potential to have a lot of value. Speaking of saying the same unit over and over again, I was watching my last video from last night, and man, I said Inferno Dragon like 5,000 times. I was just thinking about it. If you say like a one-syllable word, you say like, Knight. Okay, that's not a big deal. Oh, he got my Knight. I use the Knight to defend. Then I'm just like, Inferno Dragon, Inferno Dragon, Inferno Dragon, and it kind of sounded funny. But anyway, I'm getting distracted here. So at this point, I really need to answer that Lumberjack, so I use a Lumberjack of my own. I try to kite it away from the Princess Tower and bring it to the center there. Lumberjack then goes on a counter push and destroys his Magic Archer. Magic Archer gets 2 shots off on our Princess Tower, so not bad, but not too much threat. I use my Magic Archer in the back. I'm still kind of learning how to use him. I did pretty well with him in this challenge, and it was a good opportunity for me to learn how to use him, but again, I don't have him down completely. I know he combos really well with the Tornado, so if you're running a Magic Archer deck, consider slapping the Tornado in there as well. A lot of people are running Mega Knight in this challenge, I notice. Even though he was nerfed, he's still pretty powerful, and especially since there's a lot of cards out of the rotation because of the modern Royale challenge only allowing newer cards, then that takes away some of his counters. So here I've got 2 princesses built up. My Royal Ghost is going on full swing here. I sent in the log just to kind of do some chip damage and clear the way. There goes the Royal Ghost. Get him! Alright, he does some good damage to the tower there. Forces my opponent to put the Furnace there. It's kind of like a forced, last second reaction. He's got to put something down. Very odd placement for a Furnace. But sometimes you got to do things like that, or else you risk losing your Princess Tower. And at this point, he can't afford that. So I kind of want to just chip away at his tower at this point. Maybe just play defense, see if I can't get a good defense and then powerful counter push going just to get that last 600 health down. I don't have any heavy spells in this deck. It's only log, so there's no possibility for me to like rocket the tower and finish it off. I've got to go for a decent push. And of course the miner, as I'm saying that, miner is chipping away at it like crazy, doing his job, even though he doesn't have the poison comboed with him. I log it to get it down to 94 health. I give him a good game. That was kind of mean of me. I shouldn't have given him good game before it was over. But anyway, I knew it was over. I send in my miner, and the miner finishes the job. So I end up actually finishing it up with chip damage. And it looked like he had a pretty deadly push going, but I decided to use my elixir to instead send the miner in, instead of trying to defend against that push. And that worked out alright, because it got me the win there. Okay, let's hop into this next match here, see how it goes. I want to double time it for a second. He's giving me the angry. I give him the wow. So I'm like, wow, what are you angry about, bro? Why are you mad? I'm just trying to play a game here. Alright, I gotta answer that Mega Knight and Royal Ghost on the left, so I use the Lumberjack to pump out some DPS. And you don't always have to use the Electro Whizz's Enter the Arena effect to gain his full potential. I mean, it's great, but if he dies a second after he lands, it's not really worth it. I think it's better to place him kind of off to the side, behind your Princess Tower maybe, kind of where I put him a second ago, and then he gets a few seconds of shooting away. And he does good damage, like he's not weak or anything, he does good DPS, and that stun effect really shuts down opposing pushes. So what do you guys think? Should Two Fangz be like my video partner from now on? Should I include her in more videos? Let me know what you think in the comments. I think she says yes, she's glad she's getting some attention. Oh, there we go. Alright, I send in the Lumberjack with the Princess and the Royal Ghost. He tries to tornado everything together, but doesn't quite get my Princess within Princess Tower range, which is good for me. She gets off one last shot there before the Mega Knight stomps her into oblivion. And then I use the Night Witch. Keep in mind, Night Witch is melee, so you can use her as kind of like a counter unit to destroy some support. Or there I kind of used her as a mini tank, as a thing to counter the Mega Knight. I mean, she doesn't have too much health, but she does spawn a ton of bats, so even when she dies, you know, she'll get a few bats that'll wail away on that Mega Knight for a little bit. And bats have pretty good chip damage. They do pretty good DPS, especially if you have like 4 or 6 of them. Alright, so keep in mind the Royal Ghost won't be attacked until it attacks first. So I placed my Lumberjack behind him to kind of distract it, force the Royal Ghost to attack, and you got the first hit, and then Lumberjack finished him off. Now, Two Fangz here is a desert burrowing species, so she's now attempting to burrow into my sleeve to stay warm. And take her out, because I want her to be part of the video. Don't worry, she's going back into her warm terrarium in a few minutes here. And it's plenty warm in here. We have a fire going, so don't worry about that. Alright, so I use the Mega Knight. I counter the Mega Knight with the Lumberjack. He's got a pretty deadly push coming here. I do have Electro Wizard in this deck, so that counters the Inferno Dragon pretty well. I don't have any really heavy tank counters. I don't have like a Inferno Dragon in my deck, but I do have the Lumberjack, and he does a great job of destroying tanks. And I can use something else to distract the tank, and then the Lumberjack can just kind of tear away at him. Now, Mega Knight doesn't have super great single target DPS. His utility is having high health, having an enter the arena effect, having his leap damage, all kinds of things, having AoE damage, but his single target DPS isn't that great. So even though the Lumberjack is relatively low health and only costs 4, he can kind of tank a solo Mega Knight relatively well, and push out a bunch of damage on it too. She's trying to come up here, she's saying hi to me. Hello. Alright, I go for the counter push here. Miner doing his job, tanking for the Princess Tower. Actually, Princess Tower is on the Royal Ghost there, but either way, it gets a chance for the Miner to chip away. I opt to send a Lumberjack in the right there just to kind of get a sneak attack in on that right tower. Either that or force him to answer to it, which allows me to get some more damage off on the left tower, which I do. They're both at pretty low health now. I got 890 and 947. Come here. There we are. Okay. He tornadoes everything together. I got a really deadly push on the right there, but what I did is I just fully committed to the left there because I knew we were at a point where the next tower wins. And that allowed me to snag the win before he destroyed my Princess Tower. Now the reason that I captioned this particular replay with versus a guy that doesn't know how log works is because you'll notice that he's running Princess and Dart Goblin. Now, don't get me wrong, that's great. That actually is an element of log bait. And considering that it's the modern Royale challenge and you're going to see a lot of logs in it, it's not a bad idea to have that in there. But you'll notice that he often places the Princess and the Dart Goblin both within close proximity of each other, which allows me to use one log to destroy both of them. And think about that. That's 6 elixir that he spent, and I just shut it down with only 2. That's basically giving me 4 free elixir, and potentially some chip damage on his tower as well, if the log hits the tower. So pay attention to that, and just keep that in mind when you're playing log bait decks. That's exactly what you don't want to do. And you know, maybe he didn't have that in mind, or he was not thinking about it, or is like kind of a concept that he doesn't have down yet, or maybe he just kind of didn't have another option, and you know, like was like, oh, I gotta put something down, and it ended up that they were placed next to each other due to their similar range. But we'll see how it goes. He gives me a laugh there. I think at this point I've muted him. I wanted to mute most of my opponents just to kind of get rid of any opportunity of them getting on my nerves a little bit and make sure I was on my game here. Here's an example of using the log. Looks like it hits the Dark Goblin and just misses the Princess, so that was an example of him placing it quite well. So that's great. You know, it shows that he actually did do it well once or twice. But you'll see a little bit later in the match here that there were some bad placements. And we can see that there's some things that can be done better. And again, I'm just using that as an example. I often use my own misplays as examples as well, which is why I like including some of my losses in my deck. So I'm not trying to say that this guy is a bad player. I'm just explaining the concept of something that he could have done better. Alright. So I use the miner for a counter push. The Night Witch goes in, and oh man, she just wails on that tower. She destroys it with the miner and all her bats. Does work. Is great. There's the log destroying both of those units, and he gets my tower down too, but I got some good elixir trades there, and I'm prepared to go a little bit more aggressive now that we're in double elixir time. I know that I can play defense and counter push and get a great game going, or a great push going. Win the game. Okay, so here comes the Royal Ghost, sneaks up, smacks the Magic Archer, and you can see how much damage it does to him. Magic Archer doesn't have much health. Royal Ghost still does pretty good DPS. I pretty much ignore that Mega Knight on the left. Excuse me, I'm wrong. I place a Lumberjack to defend against it. I don't want to take too much damage on my King Tower. I probably could have ignored it and committed more to the right, but I figured I would want to counter it for now. Alright, not much going on right now. I got to defend on the right here. My Royal Ghost isn't going to do much on the left there. Definitely need to answer that Mega Knight. So what I do is I actually use Miner defensively, and I get him there just in time with great placement so that the Mega Knight hits just him and doesn't cleave my Magic Archer. But while that's going on, he's getting great damage off on my tower. I get a big counter push going here, however, and let's see. This might be just around where I end it. So I got a lot of pressure going on him. Night Witch going up there. Royal Ghost smacking the tower. Princess in the back there. Magic Archer in the back there snapping away. He gives me the angry face because he's pretty mad because he lost the match. I don't blame him. I give him a good game because, hey man, it's just a game. We all lose matches. As you can see, I lose matches all the time. Probably more than I win. But hey, that's how it goes, right? Let's watch this last replay, and then we'll call it a video. What do you think, Fangz? She thinks it's nap time. Alright, he gives me a thanks and a good luck. I've probably muted him at this point. I'll double time it here for a second just to get us started. Open with the Magic Archer in the back. And then I go for the Miner. I was thinking to like hit the Executioner, but I placed it a little bit too early. So again, that's an example of a play I could have done much better. I also risk him tornadoing it into his King Tower with that placement of the Miner if he's running Tornado. I don't know if he's running it yet at this point though, but there's always that opportunity, and that's why you don't necessarily want to place the Miner or the Goblin Barrel or anything like that too close to the King Tower, because there's a chance that they will tornado it into there. Now if you're running Hog, the Hog can always be tornadoed into the King Tower, no matter where you place it. So there's nothing you can do about that, but that's why you often don't open with your Hog if you're running a Hog Cycle deck or any Hog deck. It's usually play defense, feel out their deck, see what their counter is, and then send in the Hog. Get some defense, get a counter push going, you know, get the support, the counter push support units behind your Hog, like the Musketeer, or in my case the Ice Wizard on my ladder deck, and then you send in the Hog and go for a deadly counter push. So in this case, I'm defending against everything. I use the Lumberjack as my mini tank and to wail out a bunch of damage on the Mega Knight. I use the Log to take out those Zappies, and the Royal Ghost does have a little bit of cleave, so I think that he actually hit a couple of those Zappies there, and then he goes back into being invisible, and before he dies, he gets one hit off on the E-Wiz. Doesn't quite get two, almost got two. There goes the Night Witch. I use her on defense. I kind of like using her on defense. She only costs 4, and she shuts stuff down pretty well. Like, she does pretty solid DPS. Plus, those bats get going. And she's not going to do much on her own running down a lane anymore, but if she has any support, she can do some really good damage. And either way, I mean, spending 4 elixir to defend a very deadly push isn't bad to destroy their support units. Support units generally cost, you know, 3, 4, or 5 elixir anyway, right? Alright, so here comes the Mega Knight. I use the Lumberjack again to defend against him. See, it's working out pretty well. Mega Knight doesn't do too much damage. Just keep in mind that when you're countering a Mega Knight, you want to have your unit that he's targeted on separate, like, in position, like a different spot from all your other units. So if he's targeting a unit to the left of him, put all your DPS units to the right of him so that they don't get cleaved by his auto attacks. Because he attacks all the units that are in front of him. So if they're to the side of him or behind him, he won't hit them. Alright, I go in for the counter push on the right here. Unfortunately, I don't get the miner in time enough, so the Lumberjack doesn't connect to the tower, but his rage drops and that allows the miner to get a few extra hits in there. So I gotta play defense. He's going for a split lane push here. I definitely need to answer on the left. I love the E-Wiz, man. That stun, that auto attack and the stun interrupts stuff. So it's like interrupts Sparky, interrupts Inferno Dragon and tower, interrupts the charge from the Dark Prince and the Prince and the Battle Ram. Not the Bandit. He stuns her and like makes her pause for a second, but doesn't interrupt the charge. She's immune to everything when she's charging. But all those charge units, he just like resets their charge. It's great. So he allows my Lumberjack to connect to the right there. I know at this point I just kind of gotta chip away at the tower, and I'm kind of getting excited because this is my last win. Miner is so versatile, man. I use him on defense there, and then I use the Royale goes to the right, and it actually distracts the Mega Knight, and I do a good defense there. Ooh, look at that Magic Archer. Good placement there. I'm getting better at it. Alright, and I use the Princess to just get that last shot off, and that was it. Alright, everybody. That is it for my video on the Modern Royale Challenge. I'm going to try to get one to go out on the Classic Royale Challenge, the Retro Royale Challenge, maybe tomorrow night, or it might be a little bit later. We'll see how much time I have over the weekend or during next week. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and have a good night. Yeah.